Hey everybody, it's Austin Ward back at Lettermen Row for another BuckIQ. Been a couple of weeks, but we've got Reid Fragel, former Ohio State offensive lineman, NFL offensive lineman, and to break things down in the trenches, because I don't know, I get more questions about that unit maybe than anyone right now, Reid. That the play's been up and down. Seems like there's been some bright spots in the last couple of weeks, but I don't know where your evaluation is of that group overall right now.
Right now, we're coming off a game where you saw the first half not so good. You saw some effort there that was like week one stuff that they're not picking up on. But then the second half, you see a totally different team. So you're kind of hoping going into Maryland week now that they can put it all together and kind of execute from top to bottom.
It's interesting to look at Ohio State. That was the #1 rush defense in the country.
Yep.
The Buckeyes go over 100 yards. Flip side is you had a couple breakdowns, sacks, and tackles for loss, and it's just been seeming like one step forward, one step back, kind of stuck in neutral. And I don't know, I've asked you about this before. Is the solution schematic? Do they need to look at other personnel? I mean, time is running out. There are only 2 regular season games left.
Yeah, and I kind of, listening to some of the players and their feedback on when the media kind of questioned them on what their thoughts were going into a game plan without a zone read option. And they kind of had this sense of fire to them, that they were excited about it, that you hadn't really seen before, that they were ready to basically run the rock, like old school football.
Yeah.
So you kind of go from that to throwing in some zone read option in the first half and seeing a stall in the run game to the second half kind of exploding and putting up over 120 yards on the #1 rush defense in the country. And that's what we know they can do. So I don't know if it's schematically or just a matter of them buying into whatever the game plan is.
All right, well, we'll see some of that good, that bad against that Michigan State defense as Ohio State gets ready for Maryland on Saturday. So we've got some tape here for Reid. We're going to break it on down, so let's roll the film.
Haskins steps up. Haskins will be sacked.
All right, Reid, so there were a lot of plays that we could have chosen. This is one that doesn't end well for Dwayne Haskins. He sees a lot of pressure. It's not just one guy that gets home here. So what's the first thing that you see? What's the first order of business to correct if you're the offensive line coach here for the Buckeyes?
Well, I'm looking at the left guard, left tackle in particular, and they got a guy coming off the edge that they have to count on for. The D-line kind of shifts on the fly here, to which they pick it up initially, but then you got this guy scraping off the edge, which they should see with the safety rolled over, and Thayer's got to get off on that. He tries to get off, but it's late, and it's way too late. In fact, he's already in his back by the time he's turned around. But the guard and tackle have to communicate this to pick it up where they're hip to hip, and that should be enough as a tackle, feeling your guard's hip on you, to bounce outside to pick up that guy coming off the edge. Now, when it happens, though, it's a little bit late, and I'm not even so sure that they communicated it verbally, but the tackle should be sitting there to at least run by that corner off the edge.
Okay. And you see, I mean, Dwayne Haskins has nowhere to go here either.
Right.
There's more pressure coming there at right guard. Demetrius Knox, he wound up grading out as a champion in this game. So, but this looks like one where maybe all 5 spots, maybe Isaiah Prince, you like what you see there maybe, but gets graded down a little bit.
Yeah, and that's the whole picture. Is it's not pretty, but immediately the left guard, left tackle is what picks up my attention. But yeah, the right guard, Demetrius, gives up some a late straggler here, where if he does want to step up in the pocket, or maybe if he does get so daring to run past the line of scrimmage, he can't even do that because Demetrius' guy is in his lap already.
So this doesn't work out very well for Ohio State. Dwayne Haskins gets the sack.
J.K. Dobbins in at running back now. And they run the option. Dobbins. And Michigan State smells it out.
There were also a lot of plays that we could have picked in the running game, but this is one that went for one of the worst losses of the game. It's not one that's going right up the middle, but I wonder if there's still something to pick up from the offensive line, or even throw in the tight ends, because you know how to block at that position too, Reid.
Yeah, it's kind of a combination of things. One, I've said this before, I don't really like the speed option here, or any kind of option involving Dwayne. The defenses, they know where the ball is going to end up eventually. It doesn't matter who starts with it, what Dwayne does. They know he's going to pitch it. So it kind of, in a sense, sets him up for failure. That being said, the tight end still has to follow through and run his play. He has to get that leverage on the outside of that linebacker there and seal off the edge to allow that pitch to have some success along the outside, which you'll see later. But yeah, the tight end's got to get the edge there. It's not so much an O-line issue as it is schematics and the tight end's block there.
You know, we don't have Beanie Wells in here to break it down with the running backs, but sometimes they've got to help those blockers out too. Just maybe it's the whole scheme of the play here. You're talking about that speed option, but it just seems like J.K. Dobbins has been a little hesitant, and that doesn't help out the blockers either. You can't hold it forever, right?
You've seen him kind of pitter-patter back here rather than hitting the hole and making a decisive move. which Beanie, if he were here, he would tell you the same thing, is you got to be confident when you do hit the hole, you go. You don't just need this pitter-patter 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. So you're kind of, again, you're setting your line up for failure there with their blocks.
Great group of wide receivers. Haskins on first down, hands it to Weber. Weber cuts it inside. He uses his legs and picks up a first.
I think later on in the second half, Reid, you would see Ohio State maybe make some adjustments. And Mike Weber was running pretty hard. He was not hanging around in that backfield. He was looking for the hole. And this is maybe an adjustment that you noticed that might have helped Ohio State and put that offensive line in better position down the stretch.
Absolutely, and look how confident and how different this aspect is right here, where he hits that outside edge, and he just has this confidence in his run, to where he knows he has that edge sealed off, and he's going to hit it hard, which he does, and turns it up for a huge gain. And at the same time, the tight ends and O-line are sealing that outside edge. You see Thayer get on the outside, do a beautiful job with the tight end there in the C block to work outside of the backer. That's a great, it's a triple block, usually is what we called it. Tight end tackle up to the backer, and that's just textbook right there.
Yeah, this footwork there for Thayer Munford. Take me through this, how difficult it is to maybe do what he's doing, and because you're sliding to get that seal, and you've got a guy who doesn't want you to do that.
Yeah, and you're trying to not give up too much of the inside to give up an early penetration by the defensive end. So you kind of have this wishy-washy 50-50 type mentality going into it, that you don't want to reach him too much too early, but you also can't get beat on the outside to let the guy go over top and scrape off the outside edge. So it's a beautiful block here by Thayer. His footwork is phenomenal, and him and the tight end's communication is perfect. So you see the tight end get up right at the right time to the second level to allow a nice 10-yard, 11-yard game.
Playing their best football in time for the best game of the season.
And Weber spins it for the touchdown.
And there's been so much talk, Reid, about the red zone offense, the rushing attack, and getting it done. Here you have Ohio State, second and goal. They're coming straight at you.
Yeah, I like Isaiah here especially. You see him come off with a little bit of anger, which is what I talked about before, seeing a little bit of some energy out of the O-line, and this is exactly what I'm talking about with Isaiah coming down. He's got a perfect T block. You aim for right in the center of his chest plate, and you got him teed up for you, which to me as a tackle was one of the best feelings at coming down at a down block in a goal line situation like that, where you know you can absolutely just tee off on the guy. And you see Isaiah kind of just abuse this guy right here, and great second effort play here for the running back, and spins right in the end zone.
Well, that's also that thing too, right? I mean, it's not always going to be blocked perfectly, and you do need to get some of that help sometimes. Weber gets a one-on-one, and sometimes you just have to beat the linebacker.
Yeah, and that's usually what these goal line situations are kind of set up for, is there's only so many guys you can count for in the box, typically, let alone in a goal line situation like this where they're loading the box. So there's always going to be one guy for the running back usually to beat.
Gets it done here, Mike Weber into the end zone. Something for the Ohio State offensive line to feel good about there in the second half. Maybe something to build on Saturday against Maryland. 2 weeks left in the regular season. Reid Fragel breaking it all down for us right here on Lettermen Row with BuckIQ. So for Reid, I'm Austin Ward. We will see you next time.